Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Frenemies, joined as always by David Swor. I am DJ Cox, and David got a former teammate representing the old school hat and t-shirt up there, Jim Rulapaugh. That's awesome, man. It's very cool to have you on the show tonight. Jim, thanks for coming out tonight, man.
Yep, good for you.
Yes, sir. So before we get into all the madness that is the week of MLB, David, I gotta show you the show some things here. Unfortunately, we've had three trivia nights, and I've won 2 out of 3. Well, I lost the last one somehow. I still don't know how it happened. You pulled off the upset of the year. Yeah. And so in order to take my punishment like a man, I had to take a milk bath here. So I've got this video for you. It's a 45-second video here. Let me just forewarn you that milk is very cold, and I was not expecting that. So you can enjoy this for just a second here, and then we'll get into the show.
David, I'm giving you exactly what you deserve. That's funny. Never happen again. I don't know how you beat me in the first place, but here we go. I'm paying my dues.
A little bit hard to see.
Is that Nicole?
That's Lindsay.
That's Lindsay.
Oh, oh, it's so cold. Oh, oh my goodness.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so cold.
So you
Lindsay
got
seems
it,
like
buddy.
she's really enjoying that. That makes my day.
Yeah, she had too much fun with that, I guess you could say. So that'll never happen again because I'll never lose again. But there you have it. The full video will be posted on our YouTube channel later, a little more clear than that. Obviously, that was a little hard to see, but I just wanted to show you that it's done, David. I did it for you, bud.
That's awesome. DJ, I've actually heard that whiny, it's so cold, one other time in my life. Jim, do you remember back in the day, DJ used to like to take him a shower over there next to the handicap shower. And that handicap shower, you could reach that thing over the stall pretty easy. I used to give DJ a cold shower every once in a while. You remember that?
I was just wondering if that year before I got to school, if that was what he sounded like when they dropped him off out there at the battlefield.
That was close. Actually, DJ made a hard sprint for it. Did you make it back in the car, DJ? Did we leave you?
I made it with my feet hanging out of that van, man. My feet were hanging out of Donnie's Jeep, and he took off, and Billy was left all to himself.
Yeah, DJ, he caught wind and made a mad dash for it right at the last second. And Jim, if you haven't watched it, you need to go back and watch the Billy Garrick episode. That's a treat for everybody that everyone should experience at least once. It was an awesome show.
All right, well, that's awesome. So, David, I'm going to have you kick us off this week with the Yankees, man. And I know you want to switch over to the White Sox, but you can't do that.
It's too late. The move's been made. Been talking to the kids about playoff tickets. So, DJ, the Yankees are back to what they were. So if you think about the big streak, the 13-game win streak, when did that happen? That happened when 20 guys were on the DL, literally 20 guys. And they were doing it with all these minor leaguers. And now the whole team's back, and they've turned back into the Yankees, which is about a 500 team, to be honest with you. They're 4-4 this past week. And to sum up, you can sum up the season, DJ, in 2 games this past week. They played the Orioles, which should seem like, 3 wins, and the Twins, and struggled against both. They did get 2 out of 3 from the Orioles, but in one of those games, DJ, tight game, Aaron Boone decides not to go to Aroldis Chapman in the 9th. Aroldis Chapman had thrown 7 pitches the day before, 8 pitches the day before that. He seemed to kind of pull it back together, but for whatever reason, with the season on the line, we don't go to Aroldis Chapman. And so Clay Holmes is out there. He's got 2 outs in the 9th. There's a runner on first. Pass ball, Gary Sanchez. Now the runner is on second. Ground ball moves him to third. Pass ball, Gary Sanchez, tying run scores. Of course, the next guy grounds out. That would have been the end of the inning. The Yankees got to quit lying to themselves. Something's got to give, man. I'm ready for the face of this team to change. Anybody that's watched this podcast knows how I feel about Gary Sanchez. They need to move on. I'm not sure how they're going to be able to do that. The catching market this year is weak. They could have really used Real Muto. It probably would have changed their season. Oh, I know it would have changed their season had they had Real Muto from last year. That's the guy I wanted to get. But they just got a lot of problems. They're very one-dimensional. When they were winning all those games, they were still doing it with steals and defense and moving runners over. You know, Greg Allen was in the outfield. Velasquez was playing shortstop. That's another thing. Gleyber Torres comes back and is such a disaster at shortstop. They have to move him to second. Makes a key error in one of those games at second. I mean, they're just a dumpster fire. So to wrap all of that up, what's the problem? They need a new manager, DJ. That's the problem. He can't motivate this team. The young players that he's gotten, Gleyber Torres being the main one, Gary Sanchez another one, have not gotten any better under him. It's time to change the face of the team and to move on. The Yankees are not going to make the playoffs. They actually have to finish up with the Blue Jays and Red Sox and Rays, I think, actually, 3 straight series. So I got Texas tonight. I looked there a minute ago. They were up 4-2. Look back again, 4-3. So it's just not a good thing right now.
Yeah, it's a rough one here, and they're trying to wrap it up here in the ninth. But man, the Yankees are definitely struggling. They got Chapman on the mound right now, trying to close it down. But it's crazy, man, to think that they're so talented and they have so many. I think I heard yesterday that this is their 19th winning season in a row this year. 19 in a row. You know, anybody would be happy to have their team win 19 straight years with a winning record, and they've done it, and they're going to do it again this year. But just looks like they're going to come up a little short, man. Boston and Toronto are just on fire right now, and the Yankees, man, just can't figure it out with that bullpen. And it's funny you're calling for the head of Boone again, and you're starting to sound like Josh Hill and the Braves fans there. To get rid of them, just get rid of them, and start all over again.
What's so funny down there, Tater? Knock it off.
It's just a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
You know how this goes, DJ. I'm trying to think of the manager that was with the Red Sox. Was it Grady Little? Grady Little could win, but you just knew he was never going to push him over to the top. And that's Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone will have winning seasons. They'll hang around the playoff hunt, and that's all well and good. Aaron Boone's not going to manage them to the World Series. Let's just be honest. It's not going to happen. And I think his contract's up this year. It's time for a change.
Very interesting stuff there, man. So the Cubs update this week. Patrick Wisdom, guys, broke the all-time record for a Cubs franchise. Rookie homers, 27 bombs he just hit. Broke Chris Bryant's record of 26. Wisdom is a 30-year-old rookie, guys. So we should lock him up to a 7-year deal so he can play with us till he's 37. Sounds about right. Get rid of him. A little service time for the 2018 Cardinals. Only 32 games played there. This is technically his rookie year. In only 101 games played so far this year, he's been killing it. 27 bombs, 57 ribbies. I wonder if he's a piece that Cubs are wanting to keep moving forward. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of looking at these guys that have been playing here. Rafael Ortega, guys like this, Patrick Wisdom, Nico Horner's getting a lot of time.
Frank Schwindel.
Frank the Tank, baby. Schwindy City. So guys like that, we're giving auditions to basically to see if they're going to be in the mix moving forward. And, we'll see what they do with him. It'll be interesting. I see a lot of Cubs fans I think they're all just in frustration mode from all the trades. I think they're all saying that they're just going to trade him and get rid of him and start over even more, which I don't know if I believe that or not. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. It'd be very interesting to see what they do with him. 6'2", 220. Moving forward, he can play third, first in the outfield, so he's very versatile, which is a good thing to have. So the Cubs lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies this week. And guys, I saw something I'd never seen before in my entire life of watching baseball. And that's about the 15th time I've seen this since the trades have happened, because a lot of things have happened that are very bad. and have broken records. And they did another one the other day, up 7-0 in the fourth inning, guys. And here come the Phillies to hit leads. They get 7 in the bottom of the fourth and tie the game. I could not believe it. And then they win the game by 9 runs. So this is the second largest victory after being down by 7 or more runs in MLB history. And I believe the record is 10 by the Brewers in 1990. And so I've never seen anything like this before, where a team is up 7-0 like this and gets shellacked by that many runs. Unbelievable. They came back and won by 9. Big turnaround. So history made there. It was so bad I turned the A's and Royals on. So I would rather watch the A's and Royals than sit and finish that game. It was awful. And then Sunday, I'm sitting there watching them try to get a win against the Brewers in that series there. They end up losing 2 out of 3 to them this weekend. Rowan Wick, who I've talked a little bit about in this podcast, and think that he's going to possibly be a closer of the future, man, he struggled mightily. He almost blew that game. So I don't even know if we have a closer anymore, David. I think we're just starting completely over, man. There's nobody on this team to build around. Contreras is your guy, I guess. I don't know if there's anybody else that you keep moving forward that you look at and say, we have to have this guy in order to rebuild and do what we want to do in the future. Some rough times, man. There's no doubt about it. It's hard to watch this team right now. If you're watching the Cubs right now, I got to hand it to you. You're a true fan. I'm catching games here and there just to see what these guys can do moving forward. But rough time to be a Cubs fan, no doubt.
Hey, DJ, there's a trade I can already feel brewing, and that's Wilson Contreras to the Yankees for a bag of baseballs. It's going to happen.
You're calling that one, huh? Yankees are just going to keep getting the Cubs players and just keep moving forward, huh?
That's right. That's right. We need a catcher. You guys are going to want rid of some salary, so.
I'll tell you what, he's 40 times better than Gary Sanchez defensively. There's no doubt about it. Absolute cannon for an arm, block it. He's a very good defensive catcher, and he can hit. He's struggling a little bit offensively. I mentioned that last week in the podcast. Pretty much a down year, been hurt a little bit too offensively, but we'll see moving forward if he's a piece they're going to keep and what they're going to do in this offseason. And Trevor Story is the guy we're going to go get, build around, bring Chris Bryant back. I've already spent all their money in my head with a lot of different scenarios, but it will probably not play out that way as we've seen this year. My predictions don't go very well. Well, Jim, we got to move forward to you now, bud. So the Cincinnati Reds. Jim is a Reds fan, grew up in Cincinnati. He is a longtime Reds fan, and I just kind of wanted to pick your brain a little bit. What happened to the Reds this week? A really, really rough week when they were in the driver's seat, so to speak, in the wild card, and have fallen completely out of it here. So what happened to the Reds this week, buddy?
I think that loss to the Cubs affected them. I don't know.
That'll do it.
It silenced their bats. So if we can't beat the Pirates, I mean, we got them for like nine straight this month, and 3 in the next month. But finish it out. I don't see them making the break and making it up through the October.
You know, that is crazy. So they had the Cubs and the Pirates back to back, and that's when they slumped. I guess I didn't realize that.
Well, they had the Cubs, the Cardinals, then the Pirates, and they managed to get 2 wins or 3 wins out of those 3 teams.
And that just blows my mind. And what really blows my mind, even more than that, just to be honest with you, and I know we're going to talk about this, DJ, so I won't spoil it too bad, but the Cardinals have the top wild card spot now, right? Yeah, the top wild card spot. That is insane to me. Out of nowhere, I gave them 0 chance when we talked about this, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It just blows my mind.
The Cardinals came out of nowhere. And Jim, so I kind of wanted to pick your brain on this too. So out of all the guys that you have on the team right now, like, who's your favorite player for the Reds right now?
I don't know. You got Castillo. I think he's a good hitter, just all around. I think Winker being hurt for the last month That was pretty much that was a big hurt there in the lineup. I like Wade Miley pitching. He's not going to overpower you, but he's got some good stuff. Unfortunately, with that, not having the overpower speed, that if they're on to you, you're going to get rocked. And I think that's what's been happening to him especially this last week. He leads them with their ERA, lowest ERA, but his last 7 days, he's like a 13 ERA at his last couple appearances, just getting hit all over the place.
Yeah, that's rough, man. And those guys that they've been relying on all year long are kind of falling off a little bit here. Vitals cooled off a little bit too.
Yeah, he was on fire.
Yes, he was. And so when these guys are fizzling out a little bit and you're just getting Winker back, which will hopefully help you guys, because as David and I have talked about many times, we're completely rooting for the Reds to knock the Cardinals out. Nobody wants to see the Cardinals in the wild card.
Andrew Green does.
Yeah. Yes, he does. So, Jim, let me pick your brain a little bit more on the Reds growing up a little bit here when you were younger. So I'm guessing in 1990 when the Reds won it all, you were 8 years old. Am I right about that? In 1990?
I was 9, getting maybe 10.
Okay. You've been 9, closer to 10. So growing up, that team was obviously very special to you. So talk a little bit about some of the players when you were a kid who your favorite Reds guys were.
The Nasty Boys.
Yeah.
I like Rob Dibble as much as that was. Then it was cool to watch him pitch, and the grit those guys had. They didn't take anything. They were ready to stick one in somebody's ear, get in a fight. They didn't really care. So I like those. I personally met Paul O'Neill, Todd Benzinger, and Chris Sabo. All really cool guys. O'Neill's really cool, just real laid back and chill, but he's a nice guy. As a 9-year-old, you're standing in like a batting cage, working out, getting some hits, and he's sitting there watching you and talking to you, and saying a few tips here and there. Chris Sabo is the same way. Chris Sabo is probably the most down-to-earth guy out of all those. But those are the ones. I like Barry Larkin, great shortstop. Everybody picks Ozzie Smith over him, but I never did.
No way. Barry Larkin was way better than him all around. And me and David agree on that for once. We agree on something.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Jim, so man, I got to tell you, so I think that 1990 Reds team, and David and I have talked about this many times, that's a legendary team, man. How they just came out of literally nowhere, took down the Oakland A's, who had made their 3rd straight World Series, big upset, obviously. Eric Davis and the boys, and Marge Schott, the craziest owner of all time, I think, and maybe besides George Steinbrenner. But no, just like unbelievable run they had. And so I do feel a little bit sorry for you Reds fans. You were 9 years old the last time they won the World Series, man. So they're definitely overdue. It's not going to happen this year, unfortunately. But it seems like the Reds, I don't know what your thoughts are as a fan, but I think that they're starting to kind of get it into shape here. They always have been a team that can hit and they can never pitch. And now they're starting to pitch a little bit and they're struggling with the hitting a little bit. So they're trying to find that balance pushing forward to where they do it all well and start to gel and are not just a one-dimensional offensive team like they have been for the last 15 years, it seems. So what are your thoughts about them moving forward?
I didn't like when 91, 92 came around. Everything was a rebuilding year. Yeah. And to me, that was just kind of like the organization mindset was, well, we didn't get it this year. We'll get a few trades. We get a good guy in, puts numbers up, and it's like, okay, let's try to get some prospects for 5 years down the road. And they don't mesh out to be anything. And so it's like, let's trade the next good person to get some more prospects for 5 years down the road. And it just seems like they're progressively trying to reach for the long term, but they don't have a good short-term goal to get them to that long-term goal and achieve it.
That makes a lot of sense, man, because you're exactly right about it. Is they just kind of seem like they just go up and back down, up and back down. It's crazy, man, to think that this franchise has had so many good teams in the past. I looked back at the other day. We were talking on the show the other day about the 95 Braves, and I looked back at the 95 Reds, who the Braves actually beat them in the NLCS. On that team that was Barry Larkin, and that was Reggie Sanders, and a couple guys in that team were really good. And I was just looking back at them, kind of surprised that team made it that far, and they got swept by the Braves. But obviously the Braves were in a class by themselves with that pitching staff that year. But man, unbelievable that Reds team in '95, Jim. Talk about them a little bit, because Reggie Sanders was a star. I can't remember, they had another outfielder too that had like a close to 100 RBI that year, and Barry Larkin. But other than that, it's kind of like, whoa.
I'm trying to remember if Deion Sanders was on the team that year or not.
He probably was.
Because he had a lot of stolen base. He would have had a lot of runs scored for them. But yeah, it was just one of the disappointment years for me. Starting up into high school, and they get there, and then they choke out to the team who choked out through all the 90s, but managed to win that one.
Yeah, that's so true. Of all the teams that you could have lost to, it's the Braves who end up getting their only one that we've ever seen. So it's crazy, man. But that team was that was another team that was loaded with talent, and just once that season was over, they kind of fell back again. And that's what we're talking about, is the Reds are just kind of up and down throughout our lifetimes here. And so we're hoping, man, we're rooting for you, Jim. I'll be the first to say that we want to see you guys do well in the playoffs. So hopefully they can, they're beating Pittsburgh right now. So hopefully they can jump ahead of the Cardinals and get into that second wild card spot, because the Giants or the Dodgers will get that first one, and then somebody's going to fall into there, and hopefully it's the Reds, man, no doubt. So
yeah, I don't know. I know if the Reds make it, they're not going to go beyond that first round. They're done. They just don't have the depth to go against like the Dodgers, Giants, Milwaukee. They're just not going to be able to do it. So.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that team last year I thought was loaded with talent, as a really good team, and they struggled mightily in the playoffs too, and were out pretty quick. And but yeah, I'm hoping they turn it around, get something going here moving forward. So we'll start now, David. We'll go to our standings update here. Less than 2 weeks to go in the season, guys. Cannot wait to see how this all turns out here. We got some awesome races coming down the stretch here. There's some really cool things that have happened in baseball. Let's talk about those a little bit here. I'm going to kick us off in the NL East right now. And my first 2 words about the NL East, David, are the Mets stink. And I'm just going to leave them there, not even bother to talk about them anymore. They tried to get back in it for a second there, and then they just came back to earth, man. They can't do it. They just can't. So the Phillies are 2 back of the Braves right now for the division, and 3.5 back in the wild card. So they got a better shot at the division right now. Bryce Harper is back as in the MVP talks, guys. And I saw a comparison between him and Tatis. It's close, man. It depends on which numbers you like better. It's going to be interesting going on the stretch here. Who's going to win that MVP award? And if the Phillies can get in the playoffs, Bryce Harper's probably going to overtake him. And that's what we talked about last week, is sometimes you take a look at, who's going to win that wild card, the Phillies or the Padres, and then maybe that determines who the MVP is because of that as well. But the Phillies get the Pirates and the Orioles before ending the season with the Braves, 2 series before they're done in the second last series, and then they close out with the Marlins. So the Phillies got it made. They got to put on a tee for them. You got the Pirates and the Orioles in 2 of your last series, and the Marlins. You got a shot. So the Braves are a little tougher with the D-backs, Padres, Phillies, and Mets. So they don't have it as easy as the Phillies do, man. So what are your thoughts about the NL East, David?
Wow, I mean, that's really interesting. I've really been counting the Phillies out for quite a while. But yeah, with that schedule, anything can happen. Now, if I'm not mistaken, DJ, Zach Wheeler has kind of fallen back a little bit. Is that right?
Yep, he has come down to earth a little bit. It was a Cy Young candidate for a little while there, and just kind of hopefully pick it up here towards the end.
The Phillies have been a hard team to figure out from the beginning. I mean, they got all these stars and just can't seem to put it together. But yeah, I mean, you can't count them out, that's for sure.
Jim, what are your thoughts on Bryce Harper? Big fan of his or no?
No.
Why is that?
That's a hard no.
That's a hard no. Why is that?
I don't know. I just think he's cocky. I mean, I guess you can have it when you got some of the stuff he's done. I don't keep up with him. Don't care.
Gotcha. I mean, that makes sense. It really does, because Bryce Harper is going to rub you the wrong way, or you're going to like him. There's no middle ground with him. You either hate him or you like him. He just rubs everybody that way. So that totally makes sense to me. He was supposed to be a Cub this year, when he was supposed to sign with us, and 8-year deal, and maybe we would have been in first place right now, and we would have not been going through the nightmare season that is the 20.
Hey, at least you took Jason Hayward instead.
Yeah. We're only on the books for 3 more years in that knucklehead. So on to the NL Central, guys. So the division is over as far as the champion goes. The Brewers' magic number is down to 3, so they can clinch as early as midweek this week. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They did do that this week, so the Brewers are in. Here come the Cardinals, and Dave, they get Jack Flaherty back. And so I've been hearing a lot of talk about how they're going to set up the 1-game wild card because that's what they're shooting for now. Is if they're going to throw Flaherty or Wainwright. But if they're going to throw Flaherty, they better get him a starter or 2 in because I would not make that his first start. That would be absolutely idiotic if they did that. So if he doesn't start a starter or 2 here, you're probably going to see Wainwright in that 1 game, and then they'll piece together the first game of the division series just to get a bullpen game in, so to speak. It's kind of what I've been hearing. So now they got that wild card spot, and they're on fire, man. 9 out of their last 10, won 8 in a row, holding a strong 3-game lead over the Reds and 3.5 over the Phillies and Padres for the second wild card spot. And David, John Lester, I don't know if you saw this, but his last 3 starts, he's been pretty solid, man, making us look pretty bad on that. But he's gone even into the 8th inning a couple times in his starts. I don't know what he found, but he's been pitching well. And what are your thoughts on the NL Central?
Well, DJ, I just want to say if Brian Cashman would have listened to me instead of his instincts, my offseason plan was Real Muto, Adam Wainwright, and Cesar Hernandez at second and let LeMahieu walk. And instead, he went with Kluber and LeMahieu. So I just want to let everybody know that I was going to be right if he just would have listened. But when it comes to the Central, DJ, I'm telling you, the Brewers have a real shot at winning the World Series. I mean, for a real shot. I would not want to face the Brewers because they have better pitching than anybody. They're for real. And as far as St. Louis goes, I just don't believe. I just don't. Now, they're going to prove me wrong just to be annoying, but I just can't believe in them. I don't know. I don't know who's going to catch them or whatever, but I just don't believe in St. Louis. I'm sorry.
So, Jim, my question to you about the NL Central, this one's going to come from your heart. I know it. In 2016, when the Cubs won the World Series, did you cry? Don't lie to me. You're a closet fan, aren't you?
I was pulling for him just because
Yes.
it's been like, what, 110 years, something like that? Like, everybody's been dead since the last time they won a World Series.
But wasn't part of you, Jim, you wanted to see DJ in agony? I mean, that's kind of where I was. It was like a little bit of me wanted him to win because it's been so long. And the other part of me just loved it because I lived through Steve Bartman. I was there. We were in the same dorm for Steve Bartman. And so little bit of you wants to be like, man, I hope they can screw this up.
No, I got to see DJ in that atmosphere with that the catch of the century right there. So I felt for DJ a little bit there. The Cubs were like the little Cinderella story, you know.
I wish I could.
Squirrel's gonna find a nut. So
I wish someone would have recorded DJ's reaction when they won. The tears, all that. I mean, it just would have been a classic thing. So I have to admit, I was conflicted. Like I said, part of me wanted them to win, help DJ out a little bit, and the other part of me wanted to see DJ in agony.
So, Jim, on another little note here, it's got to stink a little bit to see, and as I said already, the Cubs fan here in me, to see the Cardinals jump the Reds and that be the team that they're going to lose out to the wild card on. That's got to make you feel a little angry, right?
Yeah. Not a big Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
All I can say is we're not in the bottom of the cellar. We are above the Pirates. So.
Good point. It's a very good point. And as of the trade deadline, you jumped across the Cubs too. So on to the NL West, David. So the Dodgers and the Giants clinched playoff spot this week. So they're both in. Dodgers are coming for the Giants. It's a 1-game lead now. So I would not want to be in that 1-game wild card no matter who you're playing. I would hate to be in that spot. It's a bad decision you got to make as a manager on who to pitch, how to handle all that game. Anything can go wrong. If you get these two teams in a long series, they're going to be very tough to beat. You get them in 1 game, you got a shot at knocking them off. So you don't want to do it. Dodgers got Kershaw back. They got Tony Gonsolin back. Kershaw has given them 2 quality starts so far. So that's really good to see that he's back as well. And now they got Bueller, Urias, Scherzer, and Kershaw, David. That is sick, man. You got 4 absolute studs there for when you get in the 7-game series. They're going to be very hard in that 7-game series with those 4 guys going. So here's another thing I wanted to get into a little bit too. Speaking of this division, I'm pretty sure you guys saw this. The Padres are an absolute mess. I saw a stat, guys, this week. They have scored the least amount of runs in the MLB since August 1st. That's everybody. That's the Pirates, the Orioles, the Tigers. That's all of them. The least amount, David. That's unbelievable with their lineup that they have not been producing. They are that bad since that time. So they are falling apart. It's crazy to see. They've been battling some injuries. They're a mess. And then this week, Machado and Tatis got in a fight in the dugout. So I kind of wanted to pick your guys' brain on this a little bit. So what are your thoughts? And Jim, maybe you can talk about this too, because you're a coach as well. So Machado's in there yelling to Tatis basically about, Tatis is upset about the strike zone. So he goes in the dugout and he starts beating on the, bench, and he's getting crazy. And Machado's like, "You're the best player on this team. Shut up, blank, blank, blank." They're cussing at each other. Machado's probably got a point, but Machado's the same way as we've seen. Machado does the same stuff. So I don't know. Do you think that's total frustration? Do you think that that's good for a team, or do you think that that's going to hurt the chemistry? I could start with you on that one, Jim.
I think it's frustration for sure. You got 2 really good baseball players, and when you got a guy that comes back and all he's going to do is complain about the strike zone, and that's your only argument is take it to the umpire, go up there and do something. You're getting paid to hit the ball. Don't sit there and watch and complain because you got called. If it's getting called, you got to go after the ball. You got to make something happen. And you're being expected at that level with the pay those guys are getting, you got to make something happen. And just sitting there and not doing anything, I can see where somebody like Manny would probably be like, you're not doing something. You're not picking it up. All you're doing is sitting here, complain. Do something. And that might be his way of trying to, fire it up. I don't know what the chemistry is with the team of Machado, how much of a leader he is, but that might be his way of realizing that, they were a top seeded team going into the season, coming out of spring training. They should have been a contender, and they just tanked and fell apart. And it's just a frustration. It's where, like David was talking about, Boone, he's saying he's got to go because he can't manage things. He can't put things together at the right time. Well, that might be what these guys on the Padres are saying. We have the capability. Why can't we get above these other teams and compete?
Good point, man. What are your thoughts?
Very good point.
What do you think, David?
I think Jim just hit it on the head, man. Again, it's the difference between Grady Little and Terry Francona, or Joe Torre and Aaron Boone. Just pick who they are. I mean, you got to be able to manage these really big personalities. And let's be honest, Manny Machado is a diva.
Yeah.
And so is Fernando Tatis. He's a diva too. He just proved it, just to be honest with you. And having said that, don't you feel a little bit bad for Tatis? I kind of do. The dude's had to switch positions in the middle of the year. I just looked him up. He's still got 39 bombs. Yeah. So he's not the problem. He may have been the problem that day, but he's not the problem overall. He's tried to do what he could to make them win. They're just running out of gas. It just seems like everything has went wrong for the Padres. Snell's been terrible all year. He finally gets a couple good starts, immediately back on the DL. I mean, they just can't figure it out. And so yeah, it's just frustration. And they probably a new face in that dugout that could obviously handle those big personalities. Would benefit them for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right about the point of Tatis. And another point to add to that, you said his numbers, but he's been playing hurt all year too, and he's been fighting through injuries.
Yeah.
To his credit, man, he could have shut it down with that shoulder. That thing, he legit was hurt bad enough to where he could have just said, "Forget this."
No one would have blamed him.
Nobody would have blamed him a bit. You're so right about that. And he knew the Padres were fighting for it. This was the year everybody was expecting a lot out of them. And he fought through it. And he's still not 100%. And he's still putting the numbers he is up right now. So got to hand a lot of credit to them for that as well. Just crazy to see the downfall of the Padres, and doesn't look like they're going to get back in it, boys. Looks like they're in some deep trouble. So the AL East, best division in baseball, is coming down to the wire, man. This is a fire division with 3 teams fighting hard for 2 wild card spots. This is the most fun to watch. Ryan Mountcastle, David, just broke a rookie record for the Orioles, too. 29 bombs. He passed Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray, who had 28 and 27, respectively. So we've seen those 2 and Chris Bryant, 3 Hall of Famers, their rookie records going down. So we've seen that this week. Pretty crazy numbers there as far as that goes. And so, yeah, what a run the Toronto Blue Jays are on, man. They're completely just annihilating the league. They're 7-3 in their last 10. Been playing awesome baseball. The Red Sox are 7-3 in their last 10 as well. Tampa Bay's got really nothing to play for, so they start to get average. That's kind of what happens to teams who clinch a little early. They've got that division all but run up, and Yankees are 1.5 back at 5-5 this week. So what are your thoughts overall of that division, David?
Man, I don't want to play the Blue Jays in the playoffs, that's for sure. I'd rather play just about anybody than the Blue Jays right now. I fully expect them to be in that first wild card spot. It's still really hard for me to believe that Boston's better than the Yankees, but at this point, they just are. And so that's the 2 teams I think will be there. Tampa Bay's running away with it. It's amazing what they keep doing. I don't know if you saw this, but I think tonight their top prospect is pitching, if I'm not mistaken. Shane Baz, or maybe that was last night. I didn't see how that goes. It just seems like whoever they bring up is awesome, and they're going to be hard to beat.
So, Jim, I'm going to go to your question on this division for you. How cool is it for you to kind of see, the Bichette, the Guerrero, and the Biggio on this team of guys that we grew up watching? Now you're seeing their sons play. How cool is that? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think it's cool. I mean, every time if I hear Yeah, I think it's pretty cool those guys are there playing. I liked when Cincinnati had Ken Griffey Jr. came over, and when he was with was it Seattle, he was able to play with his dad actually for a year. And his dad's a coach and a player, so he was able to be able to play on the same team, same field. So I think that's something that's cool if you could work that out, that your parents there and part of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, David, that's going to be a great division. I'm rooting very hard for the Yankees to not make the playoffs, and so I could hear you cry.
You want to get your wish.
So that's exciting. So moving on to the AL Central, which is not a whole lot to talk about here. The Indians still got a shot at this. The magic number's 4, so they're not out of it. They can still win this division. The White Sox are going to go cold. The Indians are going to overtake them and win this division.
Not happening.
Salvador Perez, guys, tied Johnny Bench 45 bombs as a catcher. Unbelievable. Only 3 home runs shy of Jorge Soler's all-time single-season record for the Royals of 48. So Salvador Perez is killing it for the Royals. That's the highlight of this division right now, is the way he's been playing. Unbelievable. So your thoughts on your boys, David, moving forward here?
Hey, I'm telling you, man, the White Sox have as good a chance as anybody. The rotation's taking a step back. Keuchel's been kind of cold, but I'm still a believer. Luis Robert, last I looked, DJ was hitting like 330 since he's been back. What a big addition that has been. I'm still a believer.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see moving along here. That's only going to be a one-horse race there. The White Sox got the Astros in the playoffs. They drew a tough straw there. And so, David, you had mentioned something about playoff tickets. Where were you going with that?
Yeah, I'm in.
You're in on the White Sox playoff tickets?
Yeah, man.
You are, huh? That'd be interesting.
I'm gonna make it happen. DJ, I just got to say this. I don't like to pat myself on the back, but other than the Giants, I'm batting 1,000 on preseason predictions. Just going to throw that out there.
We'll have to go back and look at old shows. I don't think that's true. There's no way you could possibly be getting everything right. So I'm calling false. All right, and then the last one real quick, the AL West. The A's are 2 back in the wild card. Have been playing some baseball. Josh Harrison's on fire, David. Been playing some great baseball for them. Mariners are 4 back. Jared Kelnick has proven he belongs in the show after a tough start where he got sent back down to the minors. He's been playing really well, keeping them in the race a little bit. Got a lot of gamers on that team, you can say, for the Mariners. Staying in the race a little bit here. The Astros have run away with it. We'll meet the White Sox in the first round of the playoffs, the ALDS. So it'd be interesting to see how these two finish out with the AL East teams are kind of beating each other up, as you were saying, David. They play each other a lot. So one of these teams could sneak into that spot because they're beating each other up so much. So I don't think anybody's going to totally run away with this. So these guys got a shot. So what are your thoughts on the West, David?
Man, the Astros again. We knew this. We knew this coming in. They were going to be a team to beat. We both picked them, I believe, as World Series team. The A's, as far as the A's go in that wild card spot, yeah. I mean, what a golden opportunity to slide in there with like you said, the AL East teams beating each other up. I'm a little bit like you, and then I'm not a huge believer in their rotation and all that at this point. But like you said, man, anything can happen. It's all about who can get hot now.
So, Jim, I want to pick your brain on Shohei Ohtani for the Angels. Wow, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on him with being able to do what he's been doing on the mound this year and hitting wise?
That's sick to be able to throw the ball 100 plus and then hit a ball with exit velo touching 115, 117. It's crazy, but I mean, I like it. I think I like pitchers being able to hit a ball.
Amen.
We know Dave couldn't hit a ball, but
that's right. That's like my biggest. I told DJ before. That's like my biggest regret. Being at Temple, I'll throw that out there. Being there about week 2, and coach saying, we got plenty of outfielders or whatever. I think you should just concentrate on pitching. That was stupid. I'm all about the pitchers hitting.
Yep. I'm with you on that, man. He's proven that for sure that they can totally do it. And so, David, I wanted to go into the Giants a little bit here and break them down a little bit more from a statistical standpoint here for the next part of the show to just kind of figure out what they're doing this year. And, when you pull up the stats of these guys, you're kind of one of the things you consistently see is as you get onto the bench players of Wilmer Flores, Lamont Wade Jr., Darren Ruff, you got 40 to 50 RBI off those guys. You go into the starters and you see consistently 47, 54, 81, 46, 38, 34, 58, 31 RBI for Donovan Solano. So the RBI production is spread out so much on this team. Besides Brandon Crawford, who's got 81, you've got so many guys who are in that area where they're just kind of, all over the place. And Bryant has 16 with the team, but he's probably up there way high as far as total with the Cubs as well. So a lot of guys, Tommy Lastella's got 22, Kirk Casale 26. They've got so many guys that they go to that are driving in runs for them offensively. And you've got, you're not seeing the home run production out of these guys with the Giants uniform. None of them are above 26 homers, and that's Brandon Belt, who leads the team. You got Buster at 18, Crawford at 21, Longoria and Dickerson at 13, Yastrzemski 23, Flores 18, Lamont Wade 18, Darren Ruff 15, Austin Slater 10. So I'm not throwing big numbers at you. I'm just throwing a lot of guys who are good. And it's hard to figure this all out. I mean, David, what do you think of when you see this statistics of this team? It's not overly impressive for one guy, but as a team, you kind of see how they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. It actually reminds me a lot of. Of course, they had some stars on the teams, but those old Yankee teams, man, back when Charlie Hayes was splitting time with Wade Boggs at third base, and Tino Martinez was playing first, and Paul O'Neill's in right. I mean, they were all good players, but not a whole bunch of stars. And anyway, I can see that. I mean, they played the splits and all that, and deep bench. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, really.
And their batting averages, guys, just to kind of show, none of them are above 300 batting average, which is also another crazy stat. Nobody's
That
hit
is
over
crazy.
300, but every single guy in their rotation has an over 300 on base percentage. So they find ways to get on base, which is obvious when they're winning that many games. They're getting on base a ton. And their OPSs are pretty good too, as well, with a lot of guys in the 7, 8, and 900s on the OPS, which is outstanding for those guys to be where they're at on that. So you just don't look at these guys statistically offensively and think, holy cow, these guys are, there's no doubt whatsoever why these guys are winning. It's hard to see statistically. But then you get down to the pitching, and Kevin Gosman's 14-6 with a 2.78 ERA. Anthony Discofani is 12-7 with a 3.23. Logan Webb, David, who we don't give enough love to, is 10-3 with a 2.79. Alex Wood is 10-4 with a 3.99. And then you got Johnny Cueto as your 5, 7-7 with a 4.09. So you got 4 really good pitchers there that have been consistent all year long in that rotation. And you got Jake McGee, who's been closing them out for him this year with a 2.72 ERA and 31 saves. And they've also used Tyler Rogers for 12 saves. So it's well balanced, man. It's hard to figure out, but I mean, their pitching is good. Like, their statistics are good, but offensively, you kind of look at it and go, I don't know, man. So what do you think, David? Do you think the Giants got a shot at this thing?
Hey, I'm not counting them out. I told you guys before, like, I'm kind of pulling for them, actually. And I think it's cool the way that they're doing it. Again, I mean, it's unconventional. They don't have a whole bunch of big stars, but they got baseball players. That's what they got. They got baseball players, and it's pretty cool kind of see them do it the old-fashioned way.
Yep. So, Jim, I wanted to throw this at you. When Buster Posey back a few years ago got ran over and his ankle got destroyed into a million pieces, that would have been what it would have been like if you were running down the third baseline and I was for some stupid reason catching and you ran into me. I would have looked like Buster Posey did on that play. I just wanted to throw that out there because you are like a linebacker coming out here to get the kicker.
Should have got out of the way.
No doubt about it, man. So the Giants they're crazy good. They're fun to watch. They never lose, it seems like. The Dodgers just keep winning, and the Giants don't lose. So this has been the craziest race in baseball as far as the 2 best teams in baseball are battling for a division spot there. So I want to transition here just real quick, David, and talk to you about the 1986 Mets. There was a documentary that just came out on ESPN, 30 for 30, a 4-part series. Jim, did you get a chance to see this at all?
No.
Okay, so there's this documentary about the 86 Mets who obviously beat the Red Sox in the World Series in 7 games. The only Mets World Series we've seen in our lifetime that they've won. And David, I wanted to kind of pick your brain. I got some thoughts I had on this series, but I wanted to see what you thought and what are some things you took from this documentary.
Well, first of all, guys, if it wasn't obvious before, if you've heard Lenny Dykstra talk, drugs are bad. Drugs are definitely bad. You shouldn't take them because if so, you'll end up like Lenny Dykstra. But I thought there was a lot of interesting takeaways from that. Just a lot of stuff. Obviously, I was 6 years old when that World Series happened. So just to be honest, I didn't watch it. Didn't really know that much about it. But the first takeaway is poor Calvin Schiraldi. I mean, wow. You could tell he was definitely hurt about getting traded and being called soft. And then you basically got to be the donkey that takes it in the teeth there in 2 different games, if I'm not mistaken. So poor Calvin Schiraldi. And then, the Buckner deal, I had no idea that he had bad knees and hadn't been playing in the last innings. The Red Sox definitely got cocky. I saw just the last part this evening. Clemens goes and shaves so he looks good for the pictures. They don't take Buckner out like they normally do because he wants his guys on the field. Just some interesting stuff. And the third takeaway is, man, Mets fans are insane. Insane. You could not watch that game without seeing toilet paper being thrown from the upper deck. They rush the field and tear the turf up. I mean, what is that? I had no idea. that they were that insane. But super interesting. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Don't watch it with your kids around because Lenny Dykstra is a moron. But super interesting.
So one of the things I took from this, and I'm going to get both your perspective on this as well, because you're both pitchers and you both, I'm sure, have found ways to cheat like all pitchers do. So
Oh, I know where you're going with this. This is it. This was interesting. I'm glad you brought this up.
Mike Scott
Yeah.
hit for the Mets before he got to the Astros, and I forgot that part of it because 86 to me is a very special season because that's the first year I started watching baseball. And this is the first World Series I saw. So this from a perspective of that was very interesting to me to relive all that stuff that when I was just a kid, man, to see this. And Mike Scott was like a legend at that time for the Astros. His ball moved a ton, and when you watch his documentary, you see just how much it moved, and it's not right, man. And so you'd see like Gary Carter looking back at the umpire, like yelling at him, like check the ball, check the ball. Well, they showed the ball, Jim. And it's literally got scuff marks all over that thing. So he was taking sandpaper in his hand and scuffing the mess out of that thing. And that ball was moving like a wiffle ball all season long for him. He totally cheated, never denied it one bit. Said he would tell about it in his book that he was going to write. He said, I'll never write a book. So it's not going to come out from his mouth. But Jim, there's been a lot going on with, the stuff that's been, pitchers have been cheating this year with all the, rosin and all the stuff that they're coming up with. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think you should get out of the game? That kind of stuff, Jim.
Yeah, I don't like having somebody go in and create like a special substance. I think that came out and that started the whole mess. Trevor Bauer, I think, was the one that kind of tried to bring that up to light and trying to prove his point. He took his spin rate, like RPMs, up from like 2,300 one inning and then jacked it up to like 26, 27 and then instantly went right back down. And spin rates take time to develop. You're not going to get it just in one inning work without something. So I understand the point, but I also understand the point from pitcher's perspective that batters today are looking to hit a long ball. And so the guys are so good. They have good zones. They have good eyes. They're quick bats, and they're going to hit anything that's in there. It's good. And pitchers are trying to look to get ahead. And people don't like seeing somebody come in there and throw. I think today's the game. They don't want to see somebody like a Maddox. It's going to come in there, and he's not going to dominate you with speed. He's going to get you with changing that speed. He's going to slow it down, speed it up when he needs to, and then have nasty movement that he could put the ball anywhere he wants at any given time, that you as a batter, you have no idea where it's coming from and how fast is it going to be. And I think that is a lost art. Everybody wants to see triple digits by a pitcher, and that's great, and that's hard to hit. And, I mean, that's really hard to hit at that speed. But when you got a guy that's just throwing straight gas, that's piping it down the plate, as a batter, you're going to time it. And when you time it, the ball's going to carry out of the park. You don't have to do a whole lot once you swing on it. So I think as these pitchers are finding that they're pure gas, everybody's got to be throwing like 96 plus, and they're finding it hard to make the adjust to the slower speeds. That's why I like Wade Miley with the Reds. You got a guy that's in there. He's a lefty. He's not going to bring a fastball 92, 93 miles an hour past you, but he's going to make you like a fool on an 88 mile an hour curve or fastball and then come back in with like a 76 changeup or something like that and make you look like a moron swinging out of your shoes. That to me is kind of a lost art, but I think pitchers are trying to do something to defeat these batters that are really good. And unfortunately, it's causing a conflict in the game where people are it's going to be a controversy like the whole steroid use.
David, that's a very good point, Jim, for sure. David, how do you think he hid that thing without being seen?
DJ, did you have to ask yourself the question? I mean, did they know? I mean, come on, man. You saw the ball. You saw the ball that one of them had. It wasn't like scuffed a little bit. I mean, it was scuffed. Umpires were checking it. You could watch him out there at the mound doing it. The ball, I mean, didn't it seem like there might have been a little collusion or something going on there? It just didn't make any sense to me.
If they can't look at that ball and see that he's doctoring it like that, then they're blind. Like that doesn't happen to a baseball when you're just rubbing on that thing.
That whole thing was just odd to me. Like I
Yep.
said, it was obvious. I mean, that ball was butchered. Anyway, that's just interesting. I mean, was there like something out for the Mets? We know the Mets were a bunch of jerks. I don't know. It just makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder what was going on there.
Well, speaking of jerks, Lenny Dykstra is an awful human being. So I looked up some more things on him, David. Here's what he's been accused of in his lifetime since baseball's been over. He was a nasty tobacco user who had it spitting all over the place, all over his teammates all the time. A lot of them wanted to fight him over that because he just let it run wild and got it all over his teammates all the time. Drunk driving charges, indecent exposure charges, sexual assault charges, federal bankruptcy case, grand theft, threatens to kill an Uber driver while having cocaine and ecstasy on him, also named in the Mitchell report. He claims him and Jose Canseco are the first to use steroids. He said the steroids, do I want to make $30 million in my career, or do I want to go back to making a normal job, making $60,000 every year? So we've talked about that too, David, where these guys made the money decision with the juice. But man, what an unbelievably moron he was. Great player. He's a guy you want to have on your team for the spark that he was. But man, what a tough life. And in that documentary, it's very sad to see just how much the drugs have totally messed his life up.
Junk.
And what an absolutely wild team. Speaking of all the drugs, that's a big part of this documentary, man. These guys were unbelievable as far as talent goes. And the demons that Darryl Strawberry had with cocaine, the problems he had with keeping good to his wife. Gooden got messed up in that stuff too. Gooden was 84 and 85 season were statistically some of the best seasons ever pitched. And he had to live up to that in 86, and he had started the party life at that time too. And man, just not good upbringings that Darryl Strawberry had. He talked about wanting to shoot his dad because his dad was coming at him. Keith Hernandez, you talk about another guy who got messed up a lot on cocaine, says he doesn't even remember the 1980 season at all. The greenies and the speed that these guys put in their coffee to drink before games, they would go out there on speed and play the game. I don't know how in the world they've done this. I've never taken drugs in my life or anything like that, so I can't imagine these guys living and partying as much as they do and going out there and winning. I don't know how in the world you can do that. I know that was prevalent in the 80s on a lot of teams, not just the Mets, but they had a big problem with it. Almost ruined Darryl Strawberry's life. To his credit, he's become a Christian. He's turned his life around. He's doing a lot for the Lord now, which is awesome. But man, what a wild team that was. Davey Johnson turned a blind eye to it all. We saw that too. He just wanted to win. He didn't care about anything but them winning the World Series. He didn't care about anything they were doing off the field, all that kind of stuff. He just wanted to win. And then this team, it kind of tells you at the end there that immediately after 86, they were dismantled, man. They were just like the Marlins. They were gone.
That was a big takeaway to me too. You know, they kind of blamed a bunch of that on Kevin Mitchell and traded him. And anyway, it's just amazing. A team wins a World Series, and what does ownership do? Hey, we need to get rid of a few of these guys. It's just, I just thought the whole thing was strange.
It was, man. It was a good documentary. I kind of wish that they would have blurted some stuff out of there so the kids could have watched it, because they kind of caught me off guard with some of the stuff that happened there. But it was a good story on the 86 Mets. You know, I was so young, I didn't realize a lot of things that were happening there. But man, oh man, what a wild team and what a wild season for the Mets. And like you said, the Mets fans were crazy, man. But definitely check that out. It was a cool little four-part documentary on the 86 Mets. I enjoyed it thoroughly. So, Jim, we're going to turn this over to you, buddy. Start with your high school baseball career. Talk us through that a little bit. Talk us through how you got to Temple. Talk us through your Temple career. Just go, man. It's your part of the show.
I started playing my first year in high school. I was a homeschooler, and so played with the little Christian school there in Cincinnati. And following season, I ended up getting over and actually going and attending a school, and I was wanting to go to local public school just because I want to play with all the guys I played summer ball with. I felt it would have been better baseball, that I could potentially have better opportunity to grow more with it. But ended up going to another little Christian school named Milford Christian and played there. Didn't really have anybody that was like you would call a normal catcher that could like actually call pitches for you, make stops, block balls, stuff like that. It's just set up in the middle of the plate and stick it in his glove for him. And I was able to do that my senior year graduating. I think I was in the top overall in the city of Cincinnati with all the different high schools. I think I was in the top 5 in strikeouts overall. I mean, hitting wise, I was up there too. Had a really good senior year that set me off. Had a couple of other schools looking, but overall, I enjoyed it. It was good experience. We got to play teams that we got beat by, but I got to see better competition somewhat and perform better. Got into Temple. I had Cedarville on my list. Grace College up in Indiana was on my list. The coach there was really recruiting me hard to pitch and play first for him. And he ended up having some issues with administration, and they wanted to let some things go. He wanted to correct, which, going back to what you guys were just talking about, the Mets, like a bunch of alcohol and that type of stuff that they were having issues with. And he booted kids off teams, and he got called, said, hey, you got to put them back on. Their parents, a who's who. And so he couldn't take that. It was his team, and he's like, I'm not going to let them run my rules, let these guys ruin their lives and let them infest with other people out here and influence kids. So he ended up leaving, and he explained it all to me, and he didn't try to discourage me from going there. He just said, you got to make your choice, and kind of left it at that. So I appreciated that because we talked a lot on the phone. Then I got out with Coach Hall, talked with him a couple times on the phone. I think I made a couple trips down there as well. And I want to say one of the first trips I made down there, I think Jason Hart was with me, and I think another kid. And I believe Coach brought out the twins, and one of them was catching. So I threw to one of the twins for my first experience, and I didn't know they weren't catchers, but hey, I was a hopeful freshman wannabe, and they were a cool college player, so they had to have been good and be a really good catcher. So I went in there and threw, and pretty much Coach told me, he's like, yeah, I can get you a spot. And so I was waiting on Cedarville, and Cedarville was really dragging their feet of what they could do. And their coach left off right at the beginning of summer, went on vacation, and I was trying to get things squared away where I needed to go. And Coach Hall was contacting me. I had the university recruiters were calling, wanting to get information, wanting me to see if I wanted to register and commit to school. And I didn't hear nothing back from Cedarville, so I finally said I need to go somewhere, and I'd like to go to Temple. And that got me out of Ohio, at least, and down towards the south. And so ended up over at Temple, and I had a good career there. It was 4 years there, playing from I think that was that first 2001 season through 2004. I think I developed better as a pitcher towards my end, even though I think I got an injury in my junior year, and I stopped pitching some and just focused more on first base because it hurt too much to throw. And looking back, there's so much now that I've learned just trying to teach other guys that I wish I would have known in high school, because I can go back to probably seeing the damage I did was back then, from middle school to high school, throwing wrong, not using my body like I should have, trying to focus on, I got to get my arm up, I got to crank out, I got to pull harder, and everything you think of to make more speed is counterintuitive, and it actually hurts you worse, and you don't get the speed you think you're going to get. So just looking back at those things, I wish I could have changed a few things of that, but you lived and learned, and kind of lived at Temple. You had Dave, what was his name? Was it Rogers? We had
Yeah.
Remember him?
Well, I remember him.
David's buddy.
I love that dude.
Yeah, you and old Hank over there picking daisies in the bullpen, acting like you're doing stuff everybody else is actually practicing. But yeah, just I wish I had more somebody actually showing me or helping me out with things a little bit more to critique some stuff where I had the questions going in my head. Maybe I should have asked them more, but just trying to figure it out on my own.
You didn't know, Jim.
Yeah. Well,
You didn't know.
from what I heard from him now, it wouldn't have helped. It was an old school mentality, which is not productive for having a good, safe, and helpful arm and keeping that up and not getting yourself hurt. So I don't know. My senior year, I felt I was throwing the hardest I'd probably thrown, and pretty much it. I mean, it was fun being able to play first base, designate hit, and pitch all at the same time at that level. I know Dave, you didn't get a chance to. I mean, you got a couple of shots at some secondary positions, but not too often.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that I got to do that for 4 years from a freshman. I think I rotated first base with Brian Howard whenever he wasn't catching. When he caught, I was playing first base. So coming as a freshman, that was kind of nice to be out there and get my hand broken in by Jason Morgan from third base.
Did have a kid. I'll give him that.
Yeah. That was a good team. I enjoyed that team those first 2 years. Casey over at second base and Jason over at third, and having you guys out pitching and having Howard behind the plate. He's a good guy. Enjoyed that. Who do we have out in the outfield? We had DJ center field. Guffey did he play out in left field or right?
Left.
Okay. And I think Ben played right for a little bit.
Yeah.
Ben was on right. Robert was in left.
Yeah, Robert was in left.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean I enjoyed my time at college. It was fun. Some memorable moments. I think who was it in chapel? Kim Keck was singing. Wasn't it Guffey? Didn't he have his little solo part where he spoke out and started singing?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? She got one of those high notes, and he was like making fun of her with the whole crew of us sitting there, and it all went dead silent all of a sudden. He was the only voice you heard.
Oh, that's awesome. Hey, do you guys? I just thought about this the other day. You guys remember when people were sending in perverted names for balloon time, and Dr. Styles actually called them out? Do you remember that? That was classic TTU. And another funny thing, I thought about this the other day. DJ was always in the Easter play. Every year, he always would make the Easter play. Bill Morgan and those guys would put him in there. It was awesome.
Oh man! Somehow I'd be Lazarus or something in the play, and I was like, "What? How am I in this play again? Like I don't even know."
It was awesome.
Oh, that is amazing. I completely forgot about that, but you're right. I was in that stinking thing every year, man. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Well, guys,
fun times.
It's been fun, man, no doubt. And Jim, I think a lot of times that coach had me bouncing around from 2 and 3 and 5 sometimes lineup, but it was funny. I would bat third and you'd bat cleanup, and you'd go from a 5'7" guy batting third to a 6'7" guy batting cleanup. And it was so funny, man. Me and you would be in the line at Wendy's getting some food, and just the difference between the two of us. I think we've shown each other pictures of Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve all the time. That's me and you right now. So
I remember we played Cedarville there at Chattanooga one year, the first year when you came down, and I remember hitting a home run to center field, and then the next bat, the kid that was pitching was just staring me down. And you were DJ, I think you were the leadoff, and I was right after you. And I was over on the side, kind of like in my own little world, just swinging a bat. And you come over and you're like, Jim, I think he's going to hit you. And I was like, why? And that's when I realized the kid's just staring. He's looking at me the whole time. He's doing his wind up. He'd throw the ball, and then he'd like snap his glove and catch it back, and he'd just stare me down. And sure enough, I don't know if you'd gotten on base or what, but he threw the first pitch inside behind my back. And I just turned around and I said something, and the catcher told me to shut my mouth, and that kind of set me off. And so then the next pitch came in, the guy threw it up over my head. I turned to the umpire's like, dude, that's 2 in a row. He's trying to hit me. And the umpire's like, you just be quiet, step in the box. And the catcher said, you need to shut your mouth again to me. And so I said something smart back to him. I don't remember what it was, probably dumb. But third pitch comes in tight, missed me. All I remember is the catcher, he looked at me, and I told him, I told the umpire too, I said, you better do something about him because I'm about to do it for you. And the catcher told me, he's like, you ain't going to do nothing. I said, dude, I'm going to crack your skull with my bat, and I'm going to bust your boy in the face. And the umpire's like, told me he's like, 33, shut your mouth and get in the box. I was like, okay. I got in the box, and then the next one came right into my hip. And the thought crossed my mind, like everything went to slow motion. I'm like, do I make good on what I just said and go out there and just beat this kid?
Yes.
Or do I just walk to first base? And so I like grabbed my bat, and I don't even know if I chucked it in the dugout or what. I threw it up against the fence, I know. And I took my time. I walked and looked at the pitcher, and I'm just slow walking to first base. He starts running his mouth at me. All you guys are on the bench, you're like all pumped, jumping up and down because like I didn't never ever get really like all involved in a game like that, all high and intense. And I get out there to first base, and the first baseman's like telling me I like shut my mouth or something, or I got a smart mouth, and I was like, okay, you like think I'm cute or whatever. And he kept creeping up on me, like I got like a 5-foot lead off the base. I'm not going to steal a base. And I got like a 5-foot lead, and the dude's like literally like right on my back pocket and kicking dirt at me. So I start kicking dirt back at him. And it's like looking back at it, it's like, man, that was so like little league stuff. But he said something to me again, like, you got to quit running your mouth and quit trying to show people up. You hit a home run. And I'm like, dude, I have one speed, and it's very slow when I run the bases, whether it's hitting the ball over the fence, hitting the ball on a gap, or hitting a base hit. It's one speed. There's no like third or fourth gear. I'm stuck. I'm slow as can be. And so we start getting an argument at first, and all I remember was turning around to him, and I'd had enough because I think coach had told me I was going to go into pitch to try to close the game out. And I just turned to the first baseman, and I was like, dude, what's your number? And he's like, wow, you want to call me or something? I'm like, no, your jersey number, you moron, because I'm going to bean you when you get up to bat. I'm pitching next inning. And the first base umpire, he hears it, and he calls time, and he comes over and starts like chewing me out. Coach comes out of the dugout. Coach ends up putting a pinch runner in for me, tells me to sit down and cool off. And I was like out of it after that point. I was just like, and then after the game's over with and like looking back, I'm just like, what was the point of getting so hyped up about something? Some dude hit me in the hip. Oh, well, I got the first base. I already hit a bomb off him, and we beat him anyway. So
the question I have to ask, Jim, is who was pitching that game? Well, somebody should have paid.
I don't remember because I was going to go in, and I had my full intention. I should have shut my mouth and not said anything to first baseman, but I told him something like, I'm going to hit you, and I'm going to hit the catcher and anybody else for your pitcher right there, and you just because you're an idiot. And we were about ready to. He's about ready to throw his glove down. I was ready to turn around on him too, and the umpire's the one that saved that one from happening. But I'm like, boy, that would have been great, man. 2 Christian schools getting a bench crawl.
What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, I would have been like Jeff Van Gundy when they got in a fight, the Heat and the Knicks. I would have been holding on to somebody's leg on the bottom. I'd have been doing whatever I could. I'd have been biting his ankles. That'd have been all I could do.
Yes. Oh,
I think that was the maddest I'd ever gotten in baseball. Just
That's awesome, man.
somebody should have got plunked. I don't ever remember pitching against Cedarville, but it would have happened, Jim. I'd have put one in somebody's ribs for you.
Take care of your teammates.
Yeah. Man.
Awesome, man. That's awesome.
Remember Dave's spray paint job on the old
No comment. We talked about that about this on the show. I had some accomplices. Ben Foster. Ben actually,
Yeah.
he was the brains of the outfit on that deal. He helped cut that rainbow
You need-
flag off the back.
You need some paint removal. Ben can do it for you.
Yeah. I just remember the next day how nervous we all were, and Big Bob rolls around there and opens that back door, and he never even blinked. Never saw the big gray, 3x4 section cut out of it. Never said a word. We all just busted out laughing. Wow,
That's amazing.
we
That's
could have made
amazing.
some waves in Panama City if we'd just been 20 years later or whatever. The first time we had to take the rainbow bus down the strip in Panama City there, Jim, if we did that now, it would have been bad news.
Because everybody's got cameras now on their phones.
Exactly.
You got that right. Different world now for sure.
Yep.
Who was it that threw the drive shaft out of the van when we were going up towards? I think we were going up to your place, Dave, to stay the night at the camp and then
That
play
would have
baseball.
been Evil Twin. Jamie.
I just remember being so mad because we made it all the way up to like the Kentucky state line, and well, guys, we're gonna have to load up in a bus and go back home tonight, and then we'll try it again tomorrow.
Yep. Pretty wild.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Got any more, Jim? Keep them coming.
We could talk about Mitch. Where's Mitch
Oh,
at?
Mitch has been here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mitch has been on the show.
Mitch made an appearance, I believe, in McGilvery Gym, having to make a trip from the locker room to coach's office to figure out how all his clothes got up on the backboard. I remember a trash can lid and a newspaper for the attire for the evening.
Yes. Wow. Poor
And I
Mitch.
didn't have anything to do with that. I just happened to be in the gym at the time.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely awesome. Well, Jim, it was a lot of fun, man. Thanks
Yep.
for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, man. Really good teammate you were of ours, man. It was fun playing with you all those years. Like you said, you kind of came in and stepped in right away, and we're a starter, man. So you hit the ball rolling for us at first base there and pitching for us, and did a great job in college for us, and it was awesome to play with you. And thanks for coming on the show tonight. We really appreciate it. Hope you had a good time, man. And
Yep.
as always, David, it's been a pleasure, man. And I hope your Yankees fail this week miserably and fall out of the playoffs.
Is it bad if I say I kind of hope they do too?
Well, hey, we can buy $5 tickets and go see your White Sox play if you come up here.
I might be in.
So we'll see how that rolls. All right. Well, thanks for everybody for listening tonight. Make sure you check out our Frenemies channel on YouTube. Like us and share it. We appreciate it. And everybody have a good night.
See you guys.
See ya.